Hello, everyone. Unsung Tears. Hello, hello. Good evening. Happy Friday to you. And we are here. It is time for our virtual happy hour. And I'm so excited. I have the beautiful ones here. I'm so excited. So, before I officially introduce both of you, we're going to just, as I usually do, give it a few seconds. It takes a minute for everybody to kind of log on, and then we'll go ahead and officially get started. Norma, we are not toasting yet. What you doing?
Because my lips were dry. My mouth is dry. I need something. I need some water, but I just had to.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome. We're just going to give them a couple more seconds. If you are joining us, be sure you click on the StreamYard link and give them permission to show your name. Otherwise, I would not know who is making comments, and I can't say your name to Alfa and Norma. So please be sure and click on the StreamYard link that's in the post and give them permission to show your name so we know who's joining us. And tell us hi. Let us know who's here. Make sure you tell us hello. Tell us where you're from so I can let Alfa and Norma know. Hi, Keith. So I'm going to go ahead and officially welcome our special guest for our virtual happy hour. And Unsung Tears, it is my pleasure. I'm so excited to have I call them the beautiful ones because I think they're so beautiful inside and out. Formerly of the group Chic, we have Miss Alfa Anderson and Miss Norma Wright. Welcome, welcome. Thank you.
You left out part of my name, Tanya. I just realized it's Norma Wright as opposed to Norma Jean.
I know. I said that too, didn't I? I mean Norma Jean. I said that because I read it. So we all know Norma Jean. Norma Jean and Alfa. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's the Friday night happy hour and it's Mother's Day weekend.
Yes, it is.
We're going to toast to the moms. What'd you say, Alfa?
I'm saying, just saying hello to the Unsung Tears.
Yes, Unsung Tears, fans of you, fans of Unsung, yes. So just, we do have a few people here. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hello, Vernon. Hello, Keith. Thank you for joining us. We have several people watching. Go ahead and post and tell us hello. Tell us where you're from if you're joining us so we can let Alfa and Norma know. Norma Jean, no.
That's all right.
So let's go ahead and kick this off and we can be happy. And I'm so happy because I've worked with you all in the past a little bit and we just clicked and I just love you guys so much. So thank you again for joining. And it's nice to actually do it. I can see you this time around. We can see each other, which is pretty awesome. So let's go back to Chic days. Let's start there. Let's go back down memory lane because people want to hear about that. And Unsung Tears, if you have questions, be sure and go ahead and post them for us so I can read them. I can read them to our special guests. Everybody's saying hi, Vernon, Pennsylvania.
Hey.
Vernon, yes. And okay, so let me go ahead and start. As I said, we're going back to Chic days. Can you tell me how it started? Like, how did you know you wanted to sing? And you both can answer this question each. How did you know, oh, that's what I want to do? Where did that come from? How did you get started? Who influenced you way back when?
Well, I knew I wanted to sing by the time I was like 7 years old. And that's because my sister and we started singing in church, in the church choir. So from there, from the time we started in church, it was like, ooh, I like this. So I knew early on.
Okay. And what about you, Alfa?
Me too. I sang in the choir. You know, I'm from the South.
Yes.
And you were going to usher, you were going to sing in the choir, you were going to do something. So that was really, that was my start. And we used to sing at Girl Scout camp and we used to put on talent shows. And I started young as well. I didn't know I didn't understand that this could actually be a profession until I came to New York.
Okay. And where are you from again, Alfa?
I'm from Georgia, Augusta, Georgia.
Okay. And how about you, Norma?
I was born in Tennessee, but I was raised in Ohio.
Ohio,
Buckeye girls, both of us, right?
That's right. We still love you, Alfa.
Yeah. Well, South, of course, I was born in the South, so hey.
Okay.
I'm connected from the South on up to Ohio to New York.
Okay, which is where you both are now, New York, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you both started, have some gospel or choir roots, started there.
Mm-hmm.
Bring us up to
Yeah.
how you got started with Chic. I'll start with you, Norma, for this question. So the first introduction to Chic or how that happened, which you ended up with Chic.
Well, actually, after I moved from Ohio, I had graduated from Ohio State, and I had done a little stint with the Spinners. I had auditioned for them because they were doing shows, and they were performing the hit "Then Came You," which Dionne Warwick sang with.
Yes.
But a lot of dates she couldn't make. So when they hit Ohio, they were looking for somebody to sing, and I auditioned. I was still in college, but I auditioned and I got the gig, and I worked with them for a while. And then after the stint with them, later on, I graduated from Ohio State. After I graduated, I moved to New York. And when I moved to New York, I met Lucy Martin first because she was in a group called ESP. And I auditioned for that group. They were looking for another female vocalist to share the leads.
Okay.
And so I got the gig, met Lucy. She and I became like really close. We did shows in Canada. I met Niall and Bernard through a mutual friend, okay, that Niall knew, Lene Davis. Lene Davis told me that Niall and Bernard were auditioning to put together a group, and they were looking for a female singer. So I auditioned for them, met Niall, Bernard, Tony, got the gig. We recorded, some original music. And then I went to Canada with Lucy because she and I had a gig in Canada. So while I was there, Bernard called me and said, "Hey, come back, come back." We got interest in the group. So from the original music that we did. So that's how I met them.
Okay. And Alpha, how about you?
And I met them through Luther Vandross. I was one of the singers that did some background work with him, and we used to do recording sessions. And he called me one day and he says, I have this friend named Nile Rodgers who has this group called Chic, and they want some background singers. And I said, "Oh wow!" I said, "That's wonderful. What kind of music is?" He says, "It's disco." And I said, "Disco music?" I said, "Luther, that's not what we do. That's not who we are. We do R&B." But when I walked into the studio and heard Norma had already recorded Dance, Dance, Dance,
Mm-hmm.
that song had already been recorded. Actually,
Everybody
Dance.
it was Everybody Dance. I'm
Everybody
sorry, I always
Dance,
get that confused. Everybody Dance, and we started working. And I heard the music, and I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. So it was fortuitous, very fortuitous for me to be a part of that. So that's how that happened. Thanks, Luther.
Oh, wow. Okay, we're going to have to talk about that in a minute. But before we do that, I have to mention that we do have one of the missing former ladies of Chic. Lucy is not with us, everybody. Lucy is the other, I'll call it Chic, and she was unable to be here with us. But we love you, Lucy. We miss you. And hopefully
Absolutely.
she'll be able to join us because she is also an integral part of this whole thing. And we want to make sure we recognize her, even though she's not with us. She's here in spirit, and hopefully she's watching. And hopefully next time she'll join us, everybody. So the third party is Lucy Martin. I know you saw the picture of Unsung Tears. It was all three of them, but Lucy was unable to join us this evening. So, and we do have a couple of questions. Hey, James Day. James Day is my friend who wrote a song, who writes songs, songwriter for Glenn Jones and some other people, great singers, D-Train and some other folks. A couple of comments and questions. Yes, all the great singers start in church. Somebody said that. Who were the female voices on A Warm Summer Night? One of my favorite slow jams to play on the show.
The female, it was Lucy, me, and you, right, Norma?
No, I'm not on Warm Summer Night.
That's right. You had gone to the
studio. That song. Is it Michelle?
Yeah, it must have been Michelle. Those are the female singers. And definitely Fonzie Thornton, who's not a female, but Fonzie Thornton, I have to mention him. But those, Lucy, Michelle, and myself were the singers on that.
And that was from Tyrone Hinton, that question. Unsung Tears, be sure you hit the link in the top for StreamYard and give them permission to show your name. I can't see your name if you do not give them permission. And it's hard for me to keep going back and trying to look. So be sure you do that so I can see your name. It'll just say user, and I can't acknowledge you if you don't give me your name. Okay, another question. What were each of your favorite songs to perform live with Chic?
Norma,
Tough
go ahead.
Mine, of course, Dance, 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 Everybody Dance. And Bernard, it's my favorite Bernard track. You can get by if you try. And Falling in Love with You.
Okay.
Yeah.
From the first album.
Okay. Understood. And Alpha?
Yeah, well, I loved Good Times, Le Freak, I Want Your Love, and My Forbidden Lover. Those are my favorite songs to perform.
Okay.
Last I'm Free, I love that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I loved it too. I was nervous as I could be when I went in there. And there's a wrong lyric someplace. I've forgotten where it was, but it was a wrong lyric. But they loved the take, so they didn't make me redo it.
It sounds like you got a lot of songs you like performing live. That sounds like that was kind of a hard question for you because there's quite a few.
Ask us which ones we like performing now.
Now? Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
Okay. All righty.
So many times until it's like, okay, we got to say that one again. No, just kidding.
Okay, if you say so, Norma. Okay. So, Alpha, I'm going to go back to you because you brought it up. So tell us about Luther. You said Luther introduced you to Chic. So tell us a little bit about your experience and your interaction with Luther. Everybody I know has that question and wants to know, what was it like working with Luther? Tell us about the first time you met Luther, whatever you want to share. Give us some Luther stories.
Okay, well, the first time I met Luther was at a recording studio. I was working with Lou Courtney in a rehearsal studio. I can't remember the name of the rehearsal studio in New York. Edna Holt and I were singing background, and she says, look, when we get a break, some friends of mine in the other studio, and you have to meet these kids. It's Luther, Michelle, and Fonzie. I said, okay, I didn't know what to expect, but when we got a break, we went over, and they were also on a break at the same time. And Fonzie came over and Michelle, and I met them. And so Fonzie said, let me introduce you to Luther. And I went over to Luther. He had on overalls. And he was big Luther at that time. And he was sitting with his head down. And Fonzie says, Luther, I want you to meet another singer, Alfa. He lifted his head up, said hi, and put his head right back down like that. And I said, oh my goodness. I didn't make a big impression on him at all because he was very, very shy. And then within a week, I got a call from, I think it was Bruce Wallace, that called me and said that Luther would like to have your number. Can he call you? And I said, absolutely. And that's when our friendship started. I mean, I was living in Manhattan at the time, and I would go over to his house and we would cook, eat, and sing. That was our agenda. Cook, eat, and sing.
In that order?
Well, the singing was happening all in between, but we definitely would make sure that we had food. You know, so
that's funny.
That was my introduction to the community of artists in New York that actually sang on hundreds of records and created a sound that you can hear, an East Coast sound that you can hear on a lot of records. But we would just sit and we would talk, and he was always teaching, always working on the vocal. And Fonzie and I were speaking, and we said that we all went to Luther Vandross University because that's what it was like. You know, Norma, I know you had the same experiences.
So true, because had Luther not been with us when Chic was started, in reference to really kind of translating at times what Niall and Bernard wanted, because they were musicians, but he was the vocal guy. And we often say he was the architect of Chic's sound.
Vocal sound, absolutely.
I don't think a lot of people realize that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's Luther. And then after he left, it was Fonzie Thornton. But that's Luther, bringing us all together and making us gel as a unit.
That's great. And Norma, how did you meet? Do you remember your first time meeting Luther?
I met Luther when I went in to record some of the original tracks. And on one of the songs, Falling in Love with You, Luther, I call it my duet with Luther. Although he was just singing on the chorus, it was just he and I. And I heard this man's voice and I was like, oh my God, he is amazing. And we became, Luther and I were like sister and brother in the when we were on tour. And he was always the mentor. He opened up so many doors for me in reference to sessions. He would call me for Aretha, the Spinners, you name it, on and on. And of course, his album. He was just a real giving person.
Yes.
Best. Just the best.
Thank you for sharing.
He opened up those doors for, like, as Alfa mentioned, for many of us. Had it not been for Luther, there might not be, us.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I'm going to interject the questions as they're coming, even though it might throw us off a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and read them because I want to make sure I get them all in, because I get in trouble if I don't get the questions. People fuss at me afterwards sometimes. You didn't read my questions. So here we go. So since Chic became not only the band's name, but the image, was it easy to embrace the look and style of being Chic? And that's from Vernon. So
go ahead, Norma.
I think so. Because prior to moving to New York, I performed in local bands in Columbus and also as well as in Elyria. And often my attire would be, I like to wear gowns. Now, Chic didn't wear, Alfa and Luther didn't wear gowns per se, but I know our first publicity shot, they had double-breasted suits and I had on a
I remember that. And what about you, Alfa?
I love their look. It was very different from anything that I had seen anybody else do before. And their whole image, they were very, very influenced by Duke Ellington and Cab Calloway. They were influenced by Motown, where they used to actually groom artists before they went out. Yeah. And they taught everything, etiquette, how to get in and out. Well, actually, Luther and I said we used to sit in on Broadway. Broadway used to have park benches, and we would sit and pretend that we were getting in and out of a limo. So he would say, hey, this is the way you get in, this is the way you get out, because you're going to need this, because you're going to be famous one day, right?
I love it.
I love that actually was, so when I got to Chic, it was sort of easy for me to make that transition, designer clothes in the beginning off the rack. And then later on, couture, stuff that actually was made for us. So that was
nice.
Really cool.
You actually spoke all of that into existence, didn't you? You were living it out before you just.
We were living it out because that was so important. I mean, Luther knew, he worked really, really hard. He sang a lot, he worked a lot to get where he was. But in the meantime, we always practiced things. We even practiced our snooty look. He was like, this is where we're going to look at fans, and he would give that look. We never really did it, but we had such fun. We had such fun pretending,
The only difference that I had in reference to image with Nile and Bernard was for my album and my look. They wanted me to play up the femme fatale, the Norma Jean part, which they're saying, okay, Norma Jean, Marilyn Monroe was the white Norma Jean.
Yeah.
The real sexy kind of thing with Norma Jean. And I just did not want to do that. I chose the cover that I took, which I said, I'm more the girl next door. I can live up to that easier than I can live up to this symbol type person. So that's really not a difference there.
Okay.
But outside of that, we were in sync.
Wow. Thank you, Vernon. That was a good question. Okay. So let's talk about Niles for a minute. And then there's a couple more questions I got to get to. So tell us about Niles. What was it like working with him? Can Can you just give us a little bit, give us a taste of Niles, what that was like? Whoever wants to go. Norma, you want to go first, or
Okay.
if you don't
Well,
mind?
Niall took care of like the music part, I think more, at least when I was there. And Bernard would come in with vocal ideas, who Luther would then translate. So he
Oh,
was
okay.
very much also Niall to me because he had training, I think, classically and jazz.
Yeah,
So he would
right.
come up with some amazing like chords, like on
Mhm.
Everybody Dance. There's
Mhm.
jazz chords incorporated. So he was really, really, really clever with a
Yeah,
lot of the compositions regarding the chord structure and you know, helping to arrange and bring
Yes.
string
yeah.
arrangement, all of that stuff. Yep.
And Alpha, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that's exactly it. So,
Okay. So, and
mhm.
being in the group, personality wise, what was it like?
A lot of laughter.
Okay,
A
that's good.
lot of laughter, including when I was there, Luther was there. So we'd be on the bus playing cards, and they were jokesters. I mean, we just
Yeah,
had a lot of funny
yeah,
moments on
yeah.
stage
We had
as well.
and
Okay.
on stage,
They
we
were
had
very good.
a lot of
Yeah.
fun, a lot of fun with each other. Um, I'm trying to think of some things that I want to share, but I can't think of anything that I would want to hear later on after I share it.
Okay. We're going to leave that alone then. You can tell me
So,
later. Um, there's a question, and we're going to move on to ask you, move into your solo career. But Vernon has a question for you, Norma. Which experience did you enjoy more, being in the group or performing solo?
I enjoyed performing with the group more. I've always been group oriented. That's why, in reference to, there are people that think that I left the group, and I did not. That was not my decision. They had planned a solo situation for me and the whole thing, but I've always enjoyed working in group situations, always. I'm from a big family. I'm just a team oriented type girl.
Okay.
Mhm.
Um, okay. I'm sorry. I guess I should read them out loud. I'm reading them. Okay. Are you all friends with Audrey Wheeler too? Sounds like you all traveled in the same pack of great singers. Such a wonderful time for great singers.
Yes,
yes.
I was
Okay.
on the road with Freddie Jackson with Audrey Wheeler.
Mm,
Definitely. She's a sister girl and a hell of
That's
a
right.
I think I'm pretty sure that's from James Day. Your name's not showing, but I think that's James Day, who's worked with Audrey as well. People are saying this episode is so informative. Thank you, Tina. And you had a fabulous image. Such class went so perfectly. They're saying your class went so perfectly with the music. I think that's from, I don't know who that's from, maybe James. Norma, how did you come to co-write? How did you come to co-write Rising to the Top with Kenny Burke? That was one of my questions, Keith.
Oh,
Not
well,
yet.
I actually met Kenny through a friend of mine by the name of Tammy Hunt. And she introduced us. And Kenny came by, he says, "Do you do any writing?" And I said, because I've always had a passion for writing, although I was only allowed one song on my album, but it's okay. I got that money. But Kenny and we co-wrote the song together. He came by and he says, "Hey, I'm working on," he had the music and a lot of the lyrics, you know, were already in place. And I added some things and he released it on his album. And when it first came out, you know, it didn't do so well as a solo for him. But then Dougie Fresh
Mhm.
sampled it, and then everybody else, and it just as time went on, it became a classic.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I think
That's
Rick
what.
James, to tell you the truth about it, Rick James, the bass line, because Rising to the Top, was it All Night? I don't remember exactly which track, but the bass line is very, very similar to Kenny's bass line, which really is I think the staple of that track is that darn bass line. It is so hot. He's amazing.
Mm. Very good. Thank you for that. And that was from Keith. Thank you, Keith. So for a minute, let's talk about background vocals. There was a question in here to ask about, Norma, did you mention you sang for Aretha? Luther called you to sing with a background for Aretha?
Jump to It on the Jump to It album.
Yes. So they keep stealing my questions. So they asked what it was like working with Aretha. Somebody had asked something. I can't find the question, but it was something like that. So,
well, Aretha was not there in the studio when we performed. It was just all of the background singers: Brenda, Tawatha, Michelle, Luther, and a host of others. I think Sissy. Aretha was not there. Aretha had laid her parts when we got there.
The Queen had left the building.
The Queen had left the building.
Had left the building.
And so Alfa, that's okay. Alfa, so now we're talking about background vocals. Might as well stay on this for a minute. Can you, because I know your background, but can you speak on your background vocal work and what you did with that and your experience with that?
It was definitely a learning experience. There were so many powerful, great singers at the studio, and you had to actually work to figure out how you could bring something to that group, something, but still blend with everybody else. So it was a learning experience. You had to learn how to sing together because we did a lot of unison singing, and in unison singing is a lot harder than singing harmony. Because with unison singing, everything has to be on point. The breath has to be the same. The enunciation has to be the same. Where you hit the note, you can hit the note center, you can do a little bit over, a little bit under. Everything had to be on point. So we learned that, and we learned who would bring something. So after a while, when they would bring a song and we would say, oh yeah, we're gonna follow you on this one because this is your thing, or we're gonna follow this one, or you add your thing to it. Add what you think. So we learned how to add our own individual flavor to the background singing, and that was really cool because you had to figure that out. You had to figure that out.
Well, and they don't know. Tell who you sang with. Of course, she's sung with. She was a background vocal for Luther, y'all. Now, when you go and watch those concerts, those clips, guys, Unsung Tears, when you're watching those videos of Luther on stage, Alfa's in some of those. Look for her. She's one of those on stage performing with, with all the hair.
Right. With my 80s hair. Well, definitely Luther. And so many people. I've done rock. I've done Brian Ferry. I've done Mick Jagger. I was just during this COVID times when I wasn't doing anything. I said, well, let me just go and see how many albums I've actually sung on. It's over 100.
Wow.
Over 100. That I actually sang background for. And then, of course, all the Chic productions. And Luther would always pull me into things. So I just named a few of the things. Teddy Pendergrass. I did not sing background on Aretha's album, but the thrill for me was to sing background on stage with Luther. We went to Detroit and he invited her up. And she came on stage and I was singing. I would say, oh, I'm singing with Aretha. That was a wonderful, wonderful moment for me. But check, you can check us out. Allmusic.com is it? That's one of the places. And you will see the things that we have actually done.
It's amazing, yes.
And it's not from an ego because I really didn't know. I just said, well, let me just see, a lot of things. We are blessed. Let me tell you, we are some blessed women. Do you hear me?
And I'm blessed to have you here sharing this. We appreciate you so much. Yes, no, I mean that. I always enjoy speaking with you anyway. So thank you for that. And in case Unsung Tears didn't know, you all were on We Are Family, everybody's anthem. That's your voices in the background, right? And what's the other big one? There were a couple that your voices. Oh, Diana Ross. Diana's
the Upside Down, I'm Coming Out, all of that stuff. All of that stuff.
So you really got Chic singing background for, because at the time you were in Chic, weren't you? Or around that time you were the voices of Chic. Chic was still performing at that time, weren't you? Or was it after?
Still together,
During Sister Sledge, we were definitely still performing, and we came in and did that. We Are Family. I mean, which was like a classic, an anthem.
Oh yes, it is an anthem. Just like Good Times for me.
Yeah, like Good Times and La Freak and those things, and everybody dance and dance, 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 and I could just say that we were just extremely blessed. I can say that I was extremely blessed to come from a little small town in Georgia and to come to New York and to meet the movers and shakers, the people who were actually making music. Norma came from Ohio. I came up from Georgia, so it had to be divine, in order to make those types of things happen. And we're so alike. We bring so much. We are so alike sometimes until we just have to laugh about it.
Yeah. And
really,
I've always said Alfa looks so much like one of my sisters.
Okay.
No longer here, but
definitely. Wow. Well, you guys are truly like sisters. And what I think is so wonderful is that you're still all friends to this day.
Yeah.
Long time, how many years?
Still working together.
Wow. Since the 70s. I mean, still working. And it's such a close relationship. Remember when we were at Christian's birthday party?
Yes.
And they put on Nick and Valerie's song, It Seems to Hang On.
Love that song.
All of the singers just gathered in a circle and sang, because Nick and Valerie, I mean, hey, people that we love, that we've all worked with. And we would just, whenever we get together, we just sing and we just talk about good times, and we love each other. There's and we respect each other.
Wonderful.
Exactly.
And Unspoken Tears, I wish Ashford and Simpson, in case some of y'all didn't know who she was referring to. I'm just saying. So make sure. Just in case somebody watching didn't know who Valerie were. Although most of our probably do. Here's a question from Avery Hodge. I just wanted to know if singing on Good Times was as much fun and funky as it is when I listen to it. Forgive me, but damn, that's a great song. Okay, that's what he said. Okay.
Singing on Good Times was extremely special. First of all, we loved the track. And we had done La Freak, and it was like okay, what are we got? What are Nile and Bernard going to come back with? When they came with Good Times, it was just such a fun. And we were laughing. We would just laugh in the studio and have fun. And remember, those were the days when you had to sing. If it was like 1,000 bars at the outro, you sang 1,000 bars. Now you can like fly stuff in, right?
You didn't mind because SAG after. I mean, at that point, it was after you were getting.
You got paid
for singing all those tracks.
Singing on it was wonderful, and because it was a group lead, that we really got a chance to fine tune that group lead situation, and I think it was really funky and in the pocket for sure.
And you had mentioned, Alpha, when you're singing in unison, it can be harder because you're supposed to sound like one, and that's what she did a lot of. So you all did that quite a bit. Was that or did you really have to work at that, or after a while did it just naturally happen?
We worked at it, but after a while it was just there. It was just there. We knew where people were going to be. You knew where to go. I knew exactly what I do. I knew exactly what I had to do to add that ambiance that I could bring. Everybody knows exactly where to go. And people would ask me to do certain things, and I just learned how to do it. We are part of creating that vocal sound, that vocal magic. I am grateful. Only thing I regret is that I didn't ask them if I could co-write.
Well, I did.
Did you, Norma?
We got that open to co-writers. And I think Raymond also. Raymond well, I was asked to co-write for Chic's music, just on my own album. But I know that Raymond Jones, who was a keyboard player, he did. I think he inquired about that. But Nyla Bernard had such a team. I mean, how do they say,
Yeah.
not broke, don't fix it?
Right. Right.
And
And they
I
created
mean, look at
magic
all the
together.
hits they had, just the two.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
it was a winning combination. So, hey.
Absolutely.
Now, Norma, Alpha, you answered this already. I'm going to ask you this question, Norma. What is your most memorable performance? And I know, Alpha, you had said Aretha, being able to be on stage, that was one of your most memorable
That was
experiences.
definitely one of them for sure.
If you have another, you're welcome to share. But Norma, do you have a memorable experience?
Our show at the Greek Theater in Los Angeles. And at that time, I think Taste of Honey was on the bill. So it was my first time seeing them perform. But the Greek Theater was like that and American Bandstand. Those were
Okay.
highlights. You know, when you hit American Bandstand, it's like, we made it.
Right.
And funny you should say that, because Keith actually asked the question. Norma, tell us about your experience singing on American Bandstand. That was one of the questions.
Yeah, that was one of the highlights. And Soul Train. Let me not leave out Soul Train.
Yes.
Right. Those are great, Norma. And that Greek theater performance was absolutely, and the American Bandstand. I still watch that. You were absolutely amazing. But I want to share something personal, because I was with Chic, and we were performing, and we had these great records. And I was speaking with my mother. I said, we have a number one record. Says, no, you don't. I said, we do, Mama, we really do. And she says, no, you don't. I said, why are you saying that? Because it's not in Jet.
That's true. She had not, well, she did eventually.
She didn't understand Billboard.
Yeah.
Right. You know, she didn't understand honey, if it was not in Jet, in my mother's world, it's not in Jet. You have nothing. You have done nothing.
Ooh, that's funny.
Your song is not number one. I don't care what you say, because it's not in Jet.
So true.
But it finally showed up in Jet, right, Alpha?
It eventually did. She didn't understand the Jet was like weeks behind the chart.
So what did she say then? Did she recognize it when it was in?
She was ecstatic. She was thrilled. And then when I would go home, we would go out, we'd go to the mall, and she was just saying, I said, Mama, please dump him. And she would walk up to anybody and said, hi, do you know who this is? Do you know who this is?
That's my daughter.
That's my daughter. This is Alfa Anderson. And she would get that look on her face, and I knew it was coming out. I said, Mama, it's okay. It's okay. How you doing? Do you know who this is?
She was proud. That is the cutest.
She was proud. And I'm really happy that I was able to make my sweet mother proud.
Yes.
You know.
That's a wonderful story. Tyrone Hinton has a question for you. What would you say that makes what you guys did vocally continually stand to this test of time? What you guys did with Luther and Fonzie's is still amazing.
I didn't hear the first part of the question, Tanya.
What would you say makes what you guys did vocally continually stand this test of time?
Well, Norma, I see you about to answer, so.
Yeah. I think by the fact that it was a team of people working together.
Absolutely.
To bring out the best. And people were trained too. That's the other thing. It's not like folks just walked in one day and said, okay, I'm going to sing. Most of the people that were involved were people that really had worked towards becoming singers. So it's a collective energy. People were really, and with Nyla Bernard, they were studied musicians. It just didn't happen by chance. Luther had trained for many years and taught us. So I think the combination of it being a team effort and people were trained, they were skilled, you know, to do it. And the songs were strong songs. They were songwriters that studied to, you know, so all of those things combined, you know, I think made the difference.
Yes. Well said. I don't have anything to add.
Okay. Vernon says, was Chic Norma Jean's studio band for your hit Saturday?
Yes, they were. Nile and Bernard produced the whole entire album. That's why I only got to write one song. Just,
I'm just saying, right?
no complaining.
Tell us how you really feel, Norma. Disco, this is Vernon's question. Disco faded, but Chic's sound has withstood the test of time. Why? That's a good question because personally, Chic, they always say it was in the disco, but to me, it didn't sound like disco. It didn't fit disco to me, or it crossed over, I guess is a better way of saying it. I think that's why it withstood the test of time because it wasn't really just a disco sound or music. But I'll let you, the experts, answer that.
Go ahead.
Well, I agree that it has stood the test of time. As a matter of fact, LaFreak was actually inducted into the Library of Congress a couple of years ago to be preserved as a part of Americana.
Wow.
So, that speaks volumes. But it was great music. It was happy music. It was a time when we brought people together. Right now there's a lot of divisiveness, but when we would have concerts, we would look out and you would see people of all ethnicities, you would see people of all sexual orientations, and everybody would just leave all of that nonsense behind. We would get and we would play and we would sing and we would dance together. And that is what I think one of the main ingredients was for this group. And the things that we did, we had an opportunity to bring people together. And what we need right now, more than anything else, is something that's going to bring us together.
That's good.
If this pandemic doesn't do it, then I don't know. We have to come together if we are to survive. If humanity is to survive this and go on into continue the 21st century. So that was something that just brought so many people together. People have so many great memories about dancing, about singing, about places they went, and I do as well. And it's all about love. It's all about love. And love is so divine.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Alpha. Norma, did you want to add anything to that? Are you good?
I'm good. I'm
okay.
Good. Thanks, Alpha.
Okay. I agree. And music is such a universal language. Music does bring people together.
Yeah.
So, you almost had you almost had a sermon going on right there, Alpha, when you said that. So we're going to touch.
I know. Please don't let me get. Don't let me.
We're going to touch a little more on that in a few minutes. There's another question. What did you all think when you heard the first album by Change? I know some of the same vocalists worked with them. Their guitar player played like Nile, and their overall sound was very similar to Chic.
The overall sound was very similar to Chic, and some of the Chic singers sang on, Luther was there. I performed, recorded. Well, I didn't perform, with the band, but Sessions, Fonzie worked on Change. So they definitely, I think they listened a little bit to Chic.
Right.
And
I loved it. I thought it was nice.
Because they were amazing.
Yeah.
And I think the producers, they were from Italy. Two of the producers
were from
Italy. And they were wise enough to say, hey, this sound is working here. So they went in and came up with some hits. I mean, and have Luther sing lead on the first two singles, I think. I mean, they were smart and very, very clever.
Another question. I can't get to my stuff. We got a lot of questions, ladies. Were one of you there with Nile and Bernard at Studio 54 when they were turned down from entering, which led to Le Freak? And did you have any input in how the song turned out? Because from what they understand, the song was originally different, which I know that's true as well. So were either one of you with them?
No, I wasn't there.
No, we weren't with them. I was just fortunate to be able to sing the duet actually with Diva Gray. But we were not with them when they actually were turned down. And I will not tell the story because Niall tells the story, and it is his story to tell.
Exactly.
It's
Very
his
nice.
story to tell.
I love the respect. I just love that about you all. So, okay. All right. So now we're going to move on to some other stuff. I got a minute to breathe because I don't have any more questions. I think I covered them so far. So let's move
Good.
on. We talked about Chic and background vocals. So enter in. Let's get into when you all got back together. What you've been doing. I would say the after Chic life. So we know Norma solo career. And even after that. So what happened after that? After Chic, after some background vocals, can you guide us to what's going on after that?
After Chic, I ended up, of course, doing a lot of session work and on the road with certain artists. But Raymond Jones and I actually had a group, the two of us, called State of Art, and we ended up signing with Spike Lee's label. We did an album called Community, and from there, Lucy and I in '96, we got back together and we started performing. And then Alpha, Lucy, and I got together, and we're still performing as a
We're
former
still
Ladies of
performing.
Chic. We actually did a single together, Get On Up, with Kathy Sledge and the Aristo Freaks, and it went to #8 on. We released that in what, 2016, Alpha?
Yes, yes, yes,
And
yes.
we continue to perform together. And I'm also working with the First Ladies of Disco, with Martha Wash and Linda Clifford. And that group was started as a guy by the name of James Arena wrote a book called First Ladies of Disco that featured 32 women that were trailblazers in the disco era. And after the book, James Washington, who was the manager of the First Ladies of Disco, they created, the group. Evelyn Champagne King has performed and been, one of the featured vocalists, and some others, many others. I mean, I would be here all the rest of the 15 or 20
That's okay.
minutes if I
I'll
named
mention it.
all of the other ladies that's in the book, but get the book because it's a real good read.
Yeah.
And I'll mention that afterwards. Make sure I put it on the
Okay.
Fans of Unsung page so they can know where to find it.
Yeah.
And Alpha, your turn. I know some of that included you, but you also did some different things.
I did. Well, after Chic, that's when I started working with Luther. And I worked with him through the 80s after Chic disbanded, at least that group, because Chic is very much out there. If you have not seen them, see them. They are amazing.
Yeah.
Kim and Falami are amazing, and the band is fire. So I started working with Luther. And after Luther, I actually went back to school and got a second master's in school leadership and became a high school principal. So I took a little hiatus from singing because I wanted to make sure that I had a future in something else that did not necessarily rely on the music industry. And now it's like people are understanding that you have to have more than one income stream. You got to have money coming in, and after this pandemic, I hope that people are working and preparing for what's going to happen afterwards. It's time to create, people. It's time to create. It's time to do your own thing. It's try to own your own, because you're gonna have to have many streams of income just to make it.
It's true.
Just to make it, because things are different. Things are very different, and they're going to be more different. We've just seen the first wave of what's happening, but it has a ripple effect because people are losing jobs, people are unemployment, everything's shut down. There are no jobs. There's no place to go. So now is the time to go inside, to take care of yourself, and to figure out what can you bring to this situation. What can you do to make the world a better place? How can you raise your vibration? Now is the time for that to happen. So because the pandemic does not scare me as much as people frighten me, as much as fear,
Yes.
doubt, worry, anxiety, those things are more because COVID, we've lost a lot of people to it,
Mhm.
but it's not always a death sentence.
Right.
And if we are to survive, as I said before, we have to all do our parts, and love each other and bring out some other vibrations. I mean, whatever spiritual thing you're into, it's time to get busy.
Mm.
And,
It's time
Amen
to
to
get
that. Yes.
busy.
and to
Yes.
understand that we are all connected.
Yes,
We are
yes.
all connected. And it really is a time for people to come together. And what is
Absolutely.
frightening for me is to see the division.
Mm.
Okay. The division, to hear that there have been so many African Americans and Latinos. That's
Right.
I mean, all people have been impacted by this.
Yes.
But once again, here we are, as someone said, if America get a cold, Black folks end up with pneumonia. And
Hmm.
with all that is happening right now, I remember a time from being born in the South, we had our own businesses.
Right.
There was ownership going on. And then once
Yes.
we integrated, people gave up a lot of their own businesses to become a
Hmm.
part of the melting pot. But it's time for people, as Alpha mentioned, we got to love one another, but be creative to find out what our gifts are and
Yes.
own something.
Yes.
Mm. That's
Yes.
great.
Create something,
Yep,
and support each other, lift each other up, you
absolutely.
know.
And thank you for that. And that's exactly what we're trying to do with Unsung and Tears and bringing this chat to everyone so we can be happy. It's a virtual happy hour. And you all made that transition so easy because I was going to, of course, ask you about what you've been doing during the quarantine and any words of inspiration or advice you can give to everyone. And you already did
Yeah.
it. So thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
We're doing a lot of writing, a lot of inspirational music.
Oh, okay.
That's good.
And
Yeah.
Alpha, you actually never got to your solo career, or
Right.
you didn't even get
Well,
to that part.
well, because it was such a long span of time before it happened,
Okay.
But I actually did write my first solo CD in collaboration with a multi-talented Bert Price, a collection called Music from My Heart that Norma sang on, and some other people sang
Wow.
on, and it was definitely a labor of love, and it was an opportunity for me to share where I was at this point in my life because it's been a long time since Chic. It's been a long time since Luther. You know, getting married, raising a family, and that kind of stuff became my priorities, and
Good.
then I decided, the music was still there. The music was still in me. That was still in me. The song stopped, but it stayed inside of my heart. And I
Mhm.
wanted to make sure that that song that I had was out there for the world. So wait a minute.
And
I'm
yes.
not gonna I'm not gonna lose this moment.
Okay. Here you go. And I have to say that I had the pleasure and the honor of
You
doing a
should
little
sing
work with you.
perfectly chic, 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 perfectly chic.
I don't want to
Yes.
lose. I don't want to
Song
lose the
on our
moment,
album.
No. So
Yes,
yes,
it was so funny. I
we
girl.
we would give you the moments. It's okay. And
love it.
I had the pleasure and honor of working with you a little bit during that release.
Absolutely.
So it
So
was such
support.
a pleasure.
Yeah, to support me. And I really thank you for that. Publicly, I acknowledge and thank you, Tanya, for the things that you
Oh,
did, the advice that you gave,
pleasure.
the work that you helped me do.
Mhm.
It was a
And
lot of
you worked with us, the three of us, earlier even times.
yes.
That's right.
We
Before
all
we
That's
came
right.
go back.
alive.
We
Yes.
That's
all
right.
go back.
Yes. So it was
It
a
takes
pleasure.
a village, as they say, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
That's why I call you all my beautiful ones. And I meant that, Unsung Tears. These are the beautiful ones, inside and out. Such warm spirit.
You are beautiful as well. You know, like is attracted to like.
Kindred
right.
spirits.
Well, I hate to end this party, but we are.
Are we over time?
No, we're good. I
We're
just want
good. 7:55.
Yes. So,
may I share one thing with everybody?
Sure.
absolutely.
Do we have time? And I'm sharing it because it's something that came across my Facebook page and I really loved it and I wrote it down. It was a poem that was written by Kathleen O'Meara in 1809 and reprinted during the 1919 pandemic.
Okay.
And she says, and people stayed at home and read books and listened and they rested and did exercises and made art and played and learned new ways of being and stopped and listened more deeply. Some meditated, some prayed, some met their shadow, and people began to think differently and people healed. And in the absence of people who lived in ignorant ways, dangerous, meaningless, and heartless, the earth also began to heal. And when the danger ended and people found themselves, they grieved for the dead and made new choices and dreamed of new visions and created new ways of living and completely healed the earth, just as they themselves were healed.
Oh,
Thank you.
That was wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So, on that note, I guess it's that time. We have to do it again because you give so much information. And I would say a lot of times I ask the question, what advice would you give to new artists or artists that are trying to make it? But I think our whole interview or whole chat actually covered that in so many ways. I won't ask that specific question because I think you just gave a lot. That poem is beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Alpha. And on that note, I want you all to come back. Maybe Lucy can join us next time. Because we miss you, Lucy. I feel like
yes, we do.
Things we didn't touch on. We could talk another hour, but I'm not going to do it. Let's get our glasses and raise a toast for you all coming today, but also to the mothers for Mother's Day weekend.
Yes, yes.
And to the blessing of having you all here and having music in our lives that brought us all together.
Cheers to life.
To life.
And Unsung Tears, toast with us if you have a toast. We're virtually toasting. Oh, so much. I am going to end our chat. I hate to say goodbye. I'll just say farewell. We'll do it again sooner than later.
Bye, everybody.
My beautiful ones. Thank you so
much.
Same to you.
Yes.
You.
And for anyone that